Yes. Yes, I'm recording the video. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, I have to record my phone calls because, they say telling the truth of, what I know, being a witness of, then it would be no way of blaming me for what strangers did, you know. Mm-hmm. Yes, I'm at the hotel. Mm-hmm. In the city of Macon, Georgia. Yes. Yes. Something seemed wrong. Something seemed seemed wrong, a problem with my leg, for a long time. Yes. When did it start? Some stranger said when I was 12 years old, a car accident. And, I was in the hospital when I was 12 years old. A lot of bad stuff happened to me through no fault of my own, because I was never hitting anyone with a car, and I drove a lot, Yes, I drove a Dodge Fifth Avenue car. I drove a Dodge Intrepid car. I drove a Jeep Cherokee car. I drove a Ford Crown Victoria car. I drove a Grand Marquis car. I drove one of those Mercury cars. I drove a lot of cars and was never hitting anyone with a car. So it's what I mean when I said through no fault of my own when I was 12 years old, if a car accident happened, I don't know why, because for a long time, all of the automobiles I drove, there was never a time of me hitting a person's body and flesh and bones and skin with a car. So it seems someone should have not been driving at all if someone was hitting someone with a car and claiming an accident happened to me when I was 12 years old, you know. And what happened? Some stranger said something about a trust fund and money when I was 19 years old being given to me. So what did I do? When? Oh, well, still having problems with my leg, through no fault of my own, from what was said to have happened when I was 12 years old. I tried getting a job when I was 14 years old, working. Having a job when I was 14 years old, my first job. Yes. I think it is a paper trail because the job I had used a paper check with one of those routing numbers on it and was using my social security number and identification card. It was a work permit and should be evidence of from when I was 14 years old working a job while being disabled, physically hurting my body, since it was after the leg situation of what was said of being a car accident. The job, 3 months, 3 months, something about 3 months. Maybe it was about 3 months. Because of being a summer job. Maybe it was about 3 months. No, I don't know what strangers was doing for 3 months in the summer of the 8th grade. Something about 3 months. Some strangers, I don't know them. Because while I was using my 3 months working a job with a paper trail with evidence of my social security number and of my identification, while being physically disabled and a victim of being sexually abused and physically abused and mentally abused ever since I was in elementary school, I tried my best believing in the God of saving my virginity for the purpose of being married. And I saved my virginity for the purpose of being married. And you know, in the summer of the 8th grade, after other strangers had went to a 8th grade prom, and strangers was accused of having sex in the 8th grade prom, and strangers was accused of, you know, having sex with grown people, and the strangers was children, because when I was in the 8th grade, some of the strangers, and the reason I say strangers is because I don't know them, I don't understand them. It seems strangers because strange behaviors of strange children being strangers who was children voluntarily having sex with the grown people because of a prom or a sex party is what it seemed it was those strangers had. It seemed bad. And instead of being one of the strangers, I worked at the age of 14 years old, hurting my body, you know, physically hurting myself, you know, not intentionally physically hurting myself, but, you know, through no fault of my own, because something someone else did to my leg, you know. Those 3 months of the summer job should be evidence of, you know, my intentions of working the right way, you know, having the character of saving my virginity for the purpose of being married, you know. Yes, I did save my virginity for the purpose of being married. Other jobs? Yes, I had other jobs. When I was 18, I had a job working at a thrift store, hurting my body, hurting my leg through no fault of my own, because, you know, since my leg had problems from someone else, some stranger, of claims of some stranger's car accident, I still tried working when I was 18 years old at the thrift store. And it was a 12-hour shift working at the Pepsi Buffalo Rock building, the drink place in the city of Homewood, Alabama, where I worked, you know, myself through the pain and suffering of the abuse strangers intentionally did to me. And the abuse, from when I was in elementary school, being sexually abused while being a mental health patient, because all of those doctors and medical records of when I was in elementary school being a mental health patient, and all of those doctors and medical records of when I was in middle school being a mental health patient, and all of those physical medical records of from when strangers claimed a car accident physically abused my body when I was in middle school, in the summer of the 6th grade, when I was 12 years old, through no fault of my own, I was not the cause of what happened to me. And the same way, all of the medical records and all of the doctors from when I was in high school being a mental health patient, while being physically disabled from when I was 12 years old, through no fault of my own, the abuse did to me, and all of the time saving my virginity for the purpose of being married, Yes, it was the same way in high school when strangers was going to proms and bragging of having sex with grown people and having grown boyfriends with cars and houses and gold and money and way more than me, I was physically hurt and sexually hurt because someone had been sexually hurting me from sexually abusing me from when I was in elementary school. And someone had been physically abusing me from the time when I was in elementary school, because the sexual abuse someone had been doing to me, some stranger, was physically did to me. So the sexual abusing did to me was physically abusing to me because some stranger, I don't know why, And the reason I say some stranger is because I don't understand them. I don't know them. I don't have the same ways or the same ways of thinking those strangers have, And what I mean is, I don't have the ways of having sex with someone outside of the identity of my marriage, And those strangers are not married to me. So whatever those strangers did to me was sexual abuse and physical abuse. And I never voluntarily asked for it. I never voluntarily asked for a stranger sexually abusing me. And I never voluntarily asked for a stranger physically abusing me. And being the youngest inside of the house or home I grew up inside of, I never voluntarily asked for being abused, The job, the job at the thrift store was riding on the truck, and when people would be giving away furniture and stuff from inside of the house to the thrift store, I would ride on the truck loading the items or the furniture, the boxes, the toys, or whatever it was being given away was what I would be putting inside of the back of the truck, taking it back to the thrift store, and the people at the thrift store would sell the items given to them. And sometimes the items given would be given to me. What is that? What do I mean? One time, a stranger had a video game, and she gave me the video game and said she wanted me keeping the video game instead of selling it at the thrift store, because she know the people would be selling the items at the thrift store. And since I was 18 years old, you know, a teenager, she intended for me having a video game instead of giving it to the thrift store, because she said to me, keep the game for yourself, you know, instead of giving it to the store, you know. Yes, at the Pepsi Buffalo Rock drink factory. It would be a 12-hour shift, you know, for a long time. And I was 18 years old, you know. Yes, I had my own place. Yes, at 18 years old, I had my own place. Yes. Yes, exactly. I was not interested in staying inside of the household I growed up inside of, because since those strangers from inside of the household I growed up inside of had physically abused me and had sexually abused me, you know, the first chance I got of moving out of the household, you know how people be like, I can't wait until I'm 18 years old so I can move out of here. You know, that type of stuff. Yeah. I see it. I see it. I can't wait until I'm 18 years old so I can move out of here. You know, Because I'm tired of being abused, and I'm tired of, those strangers, because, you know, a family, has, well, I don't even know what a family is, So, I can't even really speak of what a family, means, honestly, because if the household I growed up inside of strangers, and all I am speaking of is strangers, because of, if it's been 39 years, according to the calendar today, and there is no evidence of, any person identifying themselves without being a stranger, then it seems I growed up inside a house full of strangers, with no example of saving my virginity for the purpose of being married. So I think my God, the God of, most all of the churches preached of saving virginity for the purpose of being married. So, I saved my virginity for the purpose of being married, I never seen an example of anyone with the character of saving virginity for the purpose of being married teaching me, telling me of having the character of saving virginity for the purpose of being married. A lot of people said the words of giving instructions of saving virginity for the purpose of being married. The problem seems it was no example of, them having the character themselves of showing how saving the virginity for the purpose of being married is. Did. How did I do it? Well, if it was only one step, saving virginity for the purpose of being married, then it means when I was in elementary school, when I was in middle school, when I was in high school, I saved my virginity for the purpose of being married. And, even though I said I saved my virginity for the purpose of being married, what I mean is, I saved my virginity for the purpose of being married because my God, greater than me, greater than a book, greater than a name, greater than money, greater than sex, greater than gender, greater than houses, greater than cars, greater than clothes, greater than a prophet, greater than a preacher, greater than a pastor, greater than a word, greater than all, greater than myself. Greater than anyone. Is what I think my God is. You know? And I think my God saved my virginity for the purpose of being married. Using me physically so the person physically used is myself. Because, you know, I could have went to the prom with the other people. I could have been having sex with the other people. I could have been joining in with the other people. You know, the strangers. The strangers. You know, I could have been part of those strangers groups. You know, when those strangers was having threesomes, or when those strangers was running trains. I think those strangers say the 6 trains of them strangers, of one going inside, one stranger going inside of a room having sex with a person, some stranger, and then another stranger going inside of a room having sex with some stranger, and then another stranger going inside of a room having sex with some stranger, and strangers calling it running a train. You know, is what those strangers said. Running a train, 6 trains, was what those strangers was doing, you know, while I saved my virginity for the purpose of being married, you know, and while I worked at jobs with a paper trail of my social security number and my certificate of live birth and my identification of evidence of ever since the age of 14 years old having a job, you know, all my works, a real job. And you know, it's hard because through no fault of my own, being physically disabled and mentally abused, you know, with evidence of visible proof showing of the physical abuse did to me through no fault of my own. You know, a lot of people, a lot of strangers said, it's crazy Yes. I had my own place, you know, when I was 18, staying at hotels. Because I had my own Jeep Cherokee when I was 18 years old. Doing a lot of driving to the city of Bessemer. Because, you know, growing up inside of a house in Birmingham, Alabama, you know, the first chance I got of moving from the house, I moved to a different city. The city of Bessemer, Alabama, is the city the hotel was. Yes, it was one of those budget hotels. Back then, it was those types of hotels that had the sign. It would say $29.99 a night. You know, the cheapest one. Affordable. Because, you know, I wasn't interested in wasting all of my money, you know, from my trust fund. So the cheapest hotel was the $29.99 a night budget hotel in the city of Bessemer, Alabama, was where I was when I was 18 years old. And, you know, the same way inside of a hotel now, being the head of household, you know. Yes. Yes, I was 20 years old in the year of 2004 when I got a marriage license certificate as evidence of a marriage, you know. Yes, I moved from the city of Bessemer, from the hotel, into my own household in the city of Warrior, Alabama, being the only one with a source of income when I moved into the apartments in the city of Warrior, Alabama in the year of 2004. Yes, I was still working then. But, you know, it was part-time because of being mentally and physically abused and disabled. You know, I was working part-time. Yes, at the same place. At the Pepsi Buffalo Rock drink factory in the city of Homewood, Alabama. Yes. It would take a long time because, you know, driving from the city of Warrior, Alabama, through the city of Kimberly, through the city of Morris, through the city of Fultondale, through the city of Gardendale, all of those cities, through the city of Birmingham, all the way to the city of Homewood, Alabama, you know, it would take a long time, for a long time, all of the driving. And it's crazy because, being the only one with a source of income inside of the household when I moved in, and all of the driving through all of those cities, going back and forth, working at jobs, it would seem crazy at times when strangers from outside of my marriage would be getting mad at me, saying I was taking too long going back and forth from my own household. And it's crazy because if the city of Warrior, means driving from Warrior through Kimberly, through Morris, through Gardendale, through Fultondale, through Birmingham, all the way to Homewood, for a long time, all of the driving, I never understood why strangers would have been mad at me for taking a long time driving when all of those cities, between the city of Warrior and Homewood, then driving for a long time is not my fault. I did feel hurt. I felt physically hurt because one day at the Pepsi Buffalo Rock drink factory in the city of Homewood, after all of the abuse and physical pain and suffering had happened to me, I was at the job, working. And my leg got crushed, on the back of the truck. Of those 18-wheeler trucks. The back of the truck with the door and unloading the drinks in the cans and bottles from the back of the truck. The driver bagged the truck into the loading dock while I was standing on the back of the truck and crushed my leg, my baby, and, part of the reason the physical pain and suffering through no fault of my own, from being at work with the only source of income inside of my household when it happened, seemed crazy, When did it happen? It was in the year of 2004. Yes, it was before August 31st, 2004. Where was I August 31st, 2004? I was at the hospital August 31st, 2004. Yes. Because August 31st, 2004, I had an appointment at the Spain Clinic in the city of Birmingham, Alabama for PT. They said it was called physical therapy for my leg being hurt, physically hurt, with evidence of medical records, through no fault of my own, of what strangers did to me, Where did I live? August 31st, 2004? The same apartment in the city of Warrior, Alabama, where I was the only one with a source of income when I moved into the apartments. Yeah, what does that mean? Yeah, what I'm saying is that I was the only one working at a job with a paper trail of making money from working at a job when I moved into the apartments in the city of Warrior, Alabama in the year of 2004. With evidence, because, you know, the chicks would have with those routing numbers and a paper trail of I was the only one inside of my household working a job when I moved inside of the apartment in the city of Warrior, Alabama in the year of 2004. And, you know, being disabled because, you know, part-time, you know, and all of that, you know, there was a Social Security check, you know, for me in the year of 2004, you know, for, you know, being disabled through no fault of my own. So, you know, is what I'm saying was the only money, you know, meaning I was the only one with a source of income inside, you know, of the apartments when I moved in the apartments in the year of 2004. When? It was in the month of May in the year of 2004 in the city of Warrior, Alabama. Yes. It was the same apartments I lived in when the date was August 31st, 2004. The 8th month and the 31st day of 2004. Okay. Yes. Oh, so say it using the number of the month. Okay. So according to the calendar, August was the 8th month. And the 31st day of the 8th month of the year of 2004. Yes. Okay. The 31st day of the 8th month of the year of 2004, I was the only one with the source of income inside of the apartments in the city of Warrior, Alabama. Is where I lived. Yes. Okay. The 18th day of the 7th month of the year of 2006, I lived in the same apartments where I was the only one with a source of income when I moved into the same apartments in the city of Warrior, Alabama. And it was the same apartments I lived at when it was the 7th month of the year 2006. On what day? It was the 18th day of the 7th month of the year of 2006. Where I lived inside of the apartments in the city of Warrior, Alabama, where I was the only one with a source of income when I moved into those apartments. Yes, there should be evidence because, you know, they said it was a lease and a paper trail and family court evidence of, you know, where I stayed and where I lived and, you know, me being the head of the household with the only source of income when I moved into the apartments in the city of Warrior, Alabama. Speaking of myself, you know. Yes. October 6th, 2008. I was the only one with a source of income inside of the household where I lived. October 6th, 2008. Speaking of myself. Oh, the number? The 9th month? Okay. The 6th day of the 9th month of the year 2008. I was the only one with a source of income inside of the household where I lived. And where was I? October 6th, 2008. Where was I? I was at the hospital. Yes. I went and I left the hospital October 6th, 2008. And I went to a bar and drunk a drink. I was drinking some alcohol at a bar October 6th, 2008. And then I drove back to the hospital. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if I drove back to the hospital. Because October 6th, 2008, I think I used a bus or a cab or a taxi, because I was drinking alcohol at a bar. And you know, from all of the strangers talking about car accidents, drinking and driving seems being a bad idea. So I think I used a taxi or a cab or a city bus going back and forth at the hospital October 6th, 2008. Yes, I was the only one with a source of income inside of, you know, the household I stayed in, you know. Yes. Yes, I was working. Yes. Yes, after those dates, yes. I was working part-time at jobs after August 31st, 2004. I was working part-time at jobs after July 18th, 2006. I was working part-time at jobs after October 6th, 2008. No. All of them were not jobs from the same place. I worked at a grocery store before. Yes. Yes, my neck and my leg and my back, you know, through no fault of my own, was hurting from working all of those different jobs all of those years, you know. And I told the people at the grocery store, you know, the job at the grocery store is not worth hurting my body for, you know. And, you know, since having a marriage license certificate is evidence of a marriage, you know, and doing the job of being a husband, you know, I worked other places part-time, you know, way after October 6th, 2008, you know, with evidence of, you know, my social security number and the routing numbers. I think they say the chicks from working have routing numbers of evidence of all my works doing the job of being a husband, you know, while disabled, you know. So, evidence of I was never lazy. I'm not lazy. And, evidence of all of the videos, working from inside of, my marriage license certificate household, evidence of working, doing the job of being an agent for a long time, doing the job of an investigation, for a long time, with all of the evidence, Well, yeah, exactly. Because, being the head of household with all of the evidence of, when I said having the only source of income when I moved into a household and having the only source of income, October 6, 2008, having the only source of income, August 31st, 2004, inside of my household, having the only source of income, it was the same household from, the 18th day of the 7th month of the year of 2006. I lived inside the same household, from when I moved in. I had the only source of income, So, telling the truth of, my efforts of, doing the job of being a husband, through all the pain and suffering physically did to me, through no fault of my own, from strangers, Yes. I felt I was being abused from strangers abusing me. So I moved from Alabama to the state of Georgia. And what happened then, it's crazy. The same thing happened. Some stranger, one Sunday in the year of 2015, in the month of August, some stranger said for a long time, and some stranger was the cause of me being physically abused, sexually abused, mentally abused, for a long time, because some stranger was doing a bad job. Some stranger voluntarily chose doing a bad job. Some stranger voluntarily chose accusing me. Some stranger voluntarily chose saying for a long time. And some stranger voluntarily chose causing pain and suffering to me. And some stranger voluntarily chose, being punished for the wrong did to me. Because they say it's cause and effect. Is what they say. When some stranger said for a long time, on a Sunday in the city of Macon, Georgia, in the month of August, in the year of 2015, then they say, some stranger voluntarily chose being punished because some stranger caused a bad situation. And cause and effect, they say, means when some stranger said for a long time and some stranger caused problems, then some stranger would be feeling the effect of the punishment from saying for a long time. And some stranger, should have never caused those problems, Because knowing I am a disabled person with such a character of saving my virginity for the purpose of being married, with all of those households, from being the only one with a source of income, a lot of times, for a long time, since I was 18 years old, all the love, it's crazy that some stranger, for some crazy reason, one Sunday in the city of Macon, Georgia, in the month of August of 2015, caused physical abuse to me, caused mental abuse to me, and caused sexual abuse to me. I felt like the victim of, it felt as if I was kidnapped that Sunday and sexually abused, because while I was asleep, wherever those people had took me to, some stranger was sexually abusing me while I was asleep inside of my dreams. And I never experienced those types of abuse until after some stranger said for a long time, and until after some stranger caused all of the trouble some stranger caused, because some stranger had a nasty attitude doing a job some stranger voluntarily chose doing. And it's not my fault what a stranger voluntarily chose as a career and as a job of targeting me and causing themselves to be punished for the wrong deed to me. It's what they say. So, it's what they say, Because, I'm not instructing anyone, because I'm not smart enough being a mental health patient, So, no, I'm not talking about anyone directly, and I'm not talking about anyone indirectly, and there's nothing to read into, and, I'm not speaking in a code or any of that stuff, So that way, there's no reason for being mad at me because of what some stranger voluntarily chose causing problems, Whoever the stranger was, Have I noticed any crimes? Well, I was watching a video earlier today, and, someone was saying that it was someone claiming being a police officer and throw away and ruin, his life or her life, his own life or her own life. I don't know if it was a boy or a girl or what kind of gender, a male or female, But whoever the person was, they said someone was claiming being a police officer and throwed their own life away, because of a foolish idea of wanting someone else's sloppy seconds or wanting someone else's leftovers. Now, I don't really know what it means. What did they say? Oh, well, they said it happened more than one time. And it was more than one person doing it. They said someone was claiming being a police officer, and it was someone who claimed to be. They said someone claimed being a police officer and ruined their own life because of having sex with someone else's husband or having sex with someone else's wife and looking like a fool because of ruining their own life from wanting sex from someone who claimed to being married and having a marriage license certificate to someone else. It's crazy. What it means? Yeah, they said a person claimed to being married and had a marriage license certificate. I don't know them. It was two girls, it looked like, because they showed a video of a police in a park and stuff like that, and it was like a SUV, and it said it was video evidence of him getting inside the car with someone else's wife or something like that. And then they said a lady was doing it too, so it may have been a couple. They said it may have been a male and female, a woman and a man police officer. They said could have possibly, been the ones, guilty of the crime, of throwing their life away because a person had a marriage license certificate and said he was someone's husband, but someone from outside of his marriage attempted trying having sex with him, or possibly did, and had sexually abused him. And then they said it was the same way. Someone had a marriage license certificate claiming being someone's wife, and that someone claiming being a police officer attempted having sex with her and possibly did and sexually abused her. And it all sounds crazy and stupid, to me, because, I always thought if a person claimed to being married to someone else and had a marriage license certificate of evidence of claiming being married, then the stupidest thing a person could do would be throwing their own life away from wanting the sex of someone who has a marriage license certificate claiming being married to someone else. Whether it was someone's husband or whether it was someone's wife. So they say, some disgusting loser, claiming being a police officer, throwed his own life away, or throwed her own life away, for someone else's husband or for someone else's wife. And I was like, it's crazy, I have a marriage license certificate myself. I was never interested in having sex with someone who claims being someone else's husband outside, of my marriage. Or someone who claims being someone else's wife, outside of my marriage, So, I don't know them, So it's crazy, They said it was someone who claimed being a police officer. It was people laughing outside because they were saying he wanted someone else's sloppy seconds. He was obsessed with having sex with someone who claims being married to someone else, and he made a fool out of himself. It's what they said about the male police officer. They said he looked like a fool for trying to be a Captain Save-A hoe. And the hoe he was trying to save don't even want him. And they said it was the same way with the girl. If the lady did it too. They said she looked like a fool for trying to be a Captain Save-A hoe because the hoe she was trying to save don't even want her. And she throw her life away, for somebody else's husband or somebody else's wife, and that he doesn't have a marriage license certificate of evidence of why he was ever sexually involved with whoever he was with, and that she doesn't have a marriage license certificate of evidence of why she was sexually involved with whoever she was with, you know. And they said it was a couple, you know, bad cops, you know, which is why, you know, the investigation of me being the agent with all of the evidence, you know, I said I'm tired of being the agent because it's disgusting, you know. I wouldn't want the sloppy seconds of someone who claimed to being married to someone who is not me, you know. I wouldn't want the sloppy seconds of someone who has a marriage license certificate of evidence to a person who is not me. I wouldn't want the leftover sex, you know, from someone who claimed being married with evidence of a marriage license certificate to someone who is not me. Because they said you would look like a fool and you would look stupid and you would look like you was trying to play Captain Saberho and you would look stupid, you know, if you was trying to be in a relationship or obsessed or claiming saving or being in love with someone who had a marriage license certificate to someone who is not